Hello everyone, welcome to Mascot Concepts, the series where I create mascots for teams that don't have one. Welcome to the Season 2 premiere, where we are moving away from the NFL and going to the MLB, because they too have teams without mascots. Like the team who is the subject of today's video, the world-famous New York Yankees. The New York Yankees is one out of the 3 teams in the MLB that doesn't have a mascot. But that's going to change today as I've created 3 different concepts for a Yankees mascot. So without further ado, let's get started. Oh, and by the way, I know fully well the Yankees had a mascot in the 1970s, and honestly, I kinda want them to bring him back. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to pretend that the Yankees want a completely new mascot. Before I share my first mascot concept, I should explain how I come up with mascots for teams without one. I usually think of the team itself. For example, I think back to their history, and do a little bit of research into what would represent them best. I also think of where they play at, that being the state or city, as well as merchandise, since some of these teams use a fake mascot in some merchandise. So with all that information out of the way, here's the first mascot concept for the New York Yankees. So the first mascot concept I've created is a pretty interesting choice, but it's still creative. That being a squirrel. Now what does a squirrel have to do with the Yankees? Well, I read somewhere that sometime in the mid-2000s, the Yankees did have an unofficial mascot that was a squirrel. There was also some sort of interview I remember reading a long time ago, where a squirrel was mentioned as the potential mascot. So I'm going to bring this concept back. So with all that out of the way, here's the first design. This is my design of a Squirrel Yankees mascot. He doesn't have a name as I wasn't able to figure one out. If you have a good name, please comment it down below. He is designed to look similar to a real squirrel, but also a little more cartoony. I mean, a real squirrel is kinda creepy. I gave him a friendly, childlike face, but he still appeals to adult fans too. He's also wearing a large Uncle Sam hat that matches the Yankees logo. He's very patriotic. His fur color is orange, simply because it looked better than any brown color I tried. And I guess you could say he's a red squirrel, as opposed to a gray squirrel. Although maybe that would have worked better for the Yankees. And of course, I won't talk too much about the uniform, as it's just the normal Yankees uniforms. That also includes the giant oversized black shoes, and his big floopy squirrel tail. Overall, this is a pretty interesting but creative choice, but there's one problem with having a squirrel mascot for the Yankees. You see, the St. Louis Cardinals, while yes, their mascot is a cardinal bird, they do have a secondary mascot who is also a squirrel. His name is Rally Squirrel. So it would be pretty weird for 2 MLB teams to have a squirrel mascot, even though the Yankees and Cardinals are in different divisions, and Rally Squirrel isn't even the primary Cardinals mascot. But now let's say the Yankees want something a little bit cooler than a squirrel. Maybe something stronger. Well, here's a mascot that's still small, but also strong. Now this next mascot I created may sound silly, but it actually makes a lot of sense. That being a turtle. Now what does a turtle have to do with the Yankees? Well, just recently, last season, the Yankees had a live turtle that served as the unofficial mascot, and good luck charm because when they got him, they ended up on a winning streak. His name is Bronxy. Unfortunately, a couple of days ago at the time of this recording, they retired him and he now lives at an educational lab. So why not keep a turtle mascot in honor of him? But with all that out of the way, here's the design. So here's my turtle design. And yes, he's not as realistic as the real one, but he's still just as much of a good luck charm. And as for a name, I'm actually going to keep the name Bronxy, because I like it. His head is kinda small, but it's still somewhat oversized on the performer. He's got a big grin and a huge chin. He's also got a traditional Yankees baseball cap. His color scheme is something I found quite cool. He's green and yellow, but instead of having black or dark green details, their Yankees blue color. However, I'm not that big of a fan of the feet, as I feel I could have done a little bit better. One thing that proved kind of challenging was how to represent the turtle shell, but I ended up making it flat, and it would connect to the belt as well as being velcroed to the head. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. Overall, I do like a turtle being their mascot, as it's actually something that relates to the team, even if it was unofficial. But now let's say the Yankees want to move on from the turtle, and go with something a little bit bigger and better. Well, here's the perfect mascot for that. The last mascot I created is a really strange choice, but as I came up with the concept, I grew to love it. That being a yak. Now, what does a yak have to do with the Yankees? Well, nothing really. But I can't remember who said it, but somebody posted in one of my YouTube community posts suggesting the yak be the Yankees mascot. And at first I didn't like it, but it later made sense when I thought about it more. So with all that out of the way, here's the design. Here's the design for the yak. Again, I couldn't think of a name for him, so please come up with a name for him. He's got a color scheme that's mostly blue and 2 shades of gray, dark and light. So you will notice on his arms, tail, and head he's got this pattern. He's got these huge hook'em-like horns that would probably be hollow as to not add weight to the head. His main hair color on the top of his head is blue, along with the Yankees cap. His body is slightly round, but still flexible enough to do big motions and be athletic. Now let me address the elephant in the room. No, not that one. So for those of you who don't know, the Yankees have a policy where if you are a male and work with the team in some form, you are banned from having any facial hair. They are the only team in the league to have this policy. It's been very controversial in recent years, and people are calling for them to drop the rule. And so am I. It's very discriminative, especially if you have certain beliefs. So maybe they can introduce this yak mascot as a way to permanently retire that outdated facial hair policy. Overall, a yak is a pretty fun choice for a Yankees mascot considering the team name. I'm actually surprised to find out that there's no bovine mascots in the MLB, so maybe this guy could be the first bovine mascot in the league. He would also be the first pro sports mascot to be a yak, not counting some smaller colleges or unknown sports teams. And on that note, this concludes my New York Yankees Mascot Concepts. And there you have it, mascot concepts for the MLB's New York Yankees. I know that some Yankees fans may not actually want a mascot, and I can respect that, but don't get mad at me, this video is just for fun. However, if anyone working for the New York Yankees is watching this, please consider getting a team mascot. It'll definitely help you. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next month on Mascot Concepts Season 2. Bye-bye!